Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're diving headfirst into something I bet many of you have bumped into. That moment your go-to data platform, it just doesn't have the connector you desperately need for some critical source. We're asking, is there a smart path forward? And is it, worth learning some super niche skill that might not even pay off in the long run?
Absolutely. And today we're going to zero in on a really specific, often powerful workaround, the relationship between Stitch, the LT platform, and open source Singer taps. So we really want to unpack two key questions for you. First, is using Singer taps actually a smart strategy for your team? And maybe more personally, is learning Singer tap development a strategic advantage for your career?
Okay, yeah, let's unpack Stitch first. Now, part of talent and clear too, right? But its strength, its real superpower, it's always been how easy it makes data integration. That's my understanding anyway.
Hmm.
They have managed connectors for tons of popular stuff, sauce tools, databases, and it just kind of works.
Precisely. Stitch is fantastic for that, set it and forget it experience with common sources. But, and this is the key thing, here's the catch. It doesn't cover everything, not by a long shot. Especially when you start talking about internal systems or maybe really niche tools specific to your industry or APIs that are just evolving super fast, that's usually where you hit a wall.
Right. That makes sense. That sounds like a pretty common bottleneck people run into. And this is where it gets really interesting, right? Because that's where Singer taps come in, these open source scripts. They seem like a flexible way to connect to those unsupported sources. It's almost like you're adding an extension cord to Stitch, letting you reach further without having to rip out your whole data setup.
Exactly. You've nailed the problem and the potential solution. A
Yeah.
lot of times these sources are just too niche for a big company like Stitch to build a connector for, or they're totally internal. So Singer itself, it's not really a tool you download. It's more of an open source specification. Think of it like a standard, a blueprint. It basically standardizes how data gets pulled, extracted from a source. And in Singer terms, a tap is the script that does the pulling.
Okay.
And a target is what loads it, usually into your data warehouse. And Stitch, historically, was actually built around this spec. On their enterprise plans, sometimes they can run compatible taps ones from the community or even ones you build yourself.
Ah, okay. So the big win there, the main appeal for a data team, is just massive extensibility then. You suddenly get access to data that was locked away, custom internal stuff, those niche industry APIs. And you can do it while keeping your existing Stitch setup running. That sounds like a huge benefit.
Hmm.
Almost.
Yeah.
Too good to be true.
Well, that's where we hit the critical trade-off. Maintenance, that's the big one. It immediately raises the question, what's the real long-term cost here? Because it's definitely not set it and forget it. Community taps, they can be, well, hit or miss. You might find they're buggy or way out of date, or the original creator just isn't supporting them anymore.
Hmm.
And if your team decides, okay, we'll build our own tap from scratch, well, now you own it completely. You're responsible for the entire software lifecycle. Bug fixes, sure, but also adapting when the source API changes, writing tests, documenting it properly, deploying it. It's a real ongoing engineering commitment. It's not a one-off project.
That ongoing commitment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty significant hurdle. Makes sense. So for a team thinking about this, how do you even start to figure out that maintenance load? Is there a way to estimate it, or is it always a bit of a guess? And stepping back, what does all this mean in practice for actual teams, for individual careers?
Yeah. Estimating is tough. It's less a rule of thumb and more a calculated risk. It depends heavily on how stable the source API is and, frankly, how mature your engineering team is. For data leaders listening using Singer taps, it really only makes strategic sense under very specific conditions. One, the data source has to be genuinely critical and truly unsupported by any managed tools you have or could reasonably buy.
Right, critical and unsupported.
Exactly. Two, you've either found and thoroughly vetted a really solid, well-maintained community tap, or, and this is key, you have the dedicated engineering resources in-house, not just to build it, but to sustainably maintain it over time.
Sustainably maintain it. Okay.
And third, you absolutely have to be prepared to own that long-term responsibility. It's like adopting open source code, not just using a managed service. You own the problems.
That's a really good way to put it. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. What about for individual engineers? Data engineers, maybe software engineers touching data. Beyond solving an immediate team problem, how does adding Singer tap development to your toolkit actually differentiate you, especially if you're already in an environment using Stitch or, say, Melcano?
That's a great question. It's definitely nuanced. It's not like a must-have skill for every single data role out there. But in the right context, it absolutely shows some serious technical depth. It signals you can tackle those really hard, non-standard integration problems. It shows off strong Python skills, obviously, but also comfort with complex APIs, a real commitment to testing, thinking about robust deployment. It's more than just writing a script.
So it's kind of a level up from just using the standard connectors.
Exactly. If you're aiming for those roles that really blur the lines between traditional software engineering and advanced data integration,
Yeah.
yeah, knowing how to build and maintain a Singer tab can significantly set you apart. It shows you can build the plumbing, not just use it.
Okay, so let's circle back then. Is Singer a hot skill? Sounds like the answer is.
It depends. Not necessarily everywhere, but for certain specific, tricky problems, it's a really powerful tool in the toolbox. Less a trending buzzword, maybe, more like a specialized heavy-duty wrench.
That's a perfect way to think about it. It's
Yeah.
not for every job, but when you need it, it can unlock things that were previously impossible. It can make you or your team the ones who can solve that integration challenge.
Which leads to maybe a final thought for everyone listening.
Yeah, something to mull over. Think about the broader implications here. What's the value of investing time, yours or your team's, in learning and engaging with niche open source tools like Singer? How might that willingness to, get your hands dirty with open source, maybe even contribute back, not just solve today's data problem, but position you or your team for more flexibility, more innovation down the road in this constantly changing data world? Does that give you an edge over just waiting for the next managed solution to appear? Something to consider.